What I really want to get across to people is that no matter what type of circumstances that you have been raised in or have experienced, you always have the ability to find a way out and create success for yourself. And I had to do that in my own life.
What was the thought that you had that let you become a rocket scientist?
I had to think differently. I had to think, all right, I'm going to stand out. Everything that I do is going to have to be twice as good. That's just the nature of it. And I had to change the way in which I was thinking in order to do that. How am I going to be such a contributing force to this environment that whenever I leave, I've made a difference? And when I realized that, and then when I coupled that with the aspect of mathematics, where the same type of math that we use to launch to Mars is the same type of math that we use to literally reshape our own brain, I realized the power of our thoughts. When you look at how are my thoughts going to align with where I want to go, and you decide, that moment in time where you decide, this is a thought that's going to get me to being a rocket scientist. This is a thought that's going to get me to be a doctor. This is a thought to get me to be a host of my own show. Whatever it takes, I'm going to have all the type of thoughts that's going to get me closer to where I want to go in the future. When we realize that we have a choice in how we think about things, where we have a choice, are we going to be scared about something, or are we going to go for it no matter what's going to happen? That is when we unleash this power to here. When I look back, my childhood was very rough. I spoke with a broken English, and that was the type of environment that we're in because we weren't taught the proper way of speaking English, and I even had an accent before, and sometimes we didn't have food to eat. But what the difference was when we would go past, at the time, it was USC was close by us. And I'd see all the college students go towards the campus, and I thought to myself, where are they going? What are they doing? Why do they look different than the rest of the people that are in the group? And that always kept in the back of my head. And our mother said, whatever you do, in order to change your circumstance, you're gonna have to get an education. And so I kept that in the back of my head. No matter what, I had to educate myself. I had to get a degree. The people that I saw going to the school down the street, that's something I could do. And I had that vision. Later on after that, my mother pulled me out of that school to keep me safe. And then she put me into this school completely on the other side of town. And it was a gifted school, gifted magnet. And I was with people who were brilliant. They were geniuses. And I was nowhere near how brilliant these people were. And I remember finding myself having to listen to what they were saying because how they said it was in different words than I used. And I remember being around these individuals, and I remember just listening to their voice and thinking, they're using words differently than how I use it. And I studied how people spoke. Here I was next to this man and all these other people who were like brilliant at what they were doing. I had to observe. I wasn't raised like that. I had to find out how they communicated, how they saw things. And each time I could get inside of their brain, I understood my brain more. Every single time I went to that school across town, it was like around two hours away from where I was. Every time I would come back, it was like a wake-up call. I would go to this school that was like in a predominantly well-off area, and everyone had books and paper and really nice shoes. And I remember looking at this thinking, oh, I don't have any of that. And every time I would come back into my neighborhood, I would see the graffiti and I'd see the trash. And I thought to myself, what makes a difference? Why are there people here in this situation versus here in this situation? And every single day I would come back, and it came down to this. It was the thinking, how we think, how we look at situations, whether or not we see ourselves doing well and being successful, or versus if we see ourselves as a not successful person in an environment. Our thinking defines our life. And what happened was I was failing algebra. I failed geometry, I failed calculus and chemistry. And there was this calculus teacher that said, all right, I'm gonna offer calculus tutoring for anyone who's willing to come to the campus during the winter break. And I thought everyone was gonna show up. There was only myself.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, this is such a blessing. And I sat there and I picked his brain. I'm like, how do I look? What does an integral mean? What does the tangent mean? What does the instantaneous rate mean? And these are all words for derivative in calculus. And I got a chance to sit down with them. And that was the first time ever that I realized I was smart. And when I sat with him, it was amazing because I realized what was stopping me was my own fear. It wasn't anything with my educational aspect. It was me thinking I couldn't do well in mathematics. And when I learned to remove that fear and think, I'm gonna do this no matter what's gonna happen. I may fail it, I may not fail it. I'm gonna do well at this and I'm gonna just see where it goes. I'm gonna put my all into it. We'll find out. And I put my all into it and I failed. I put my all into it and I failed, but it's something inside of me shifted. I realized, hey, failing wasn't that bad. If I can like spend a little bit more time at it, I can actually do really well at this. And that was the shift in thinking. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna spend some more time in it and I'm gonna actually get this. When there is an expectation on your life to do well, at an early age, you adopt it, you address it, you adhere to it, you create it. But if you are never given that opportunity to know what you are capable of doing, if you are never given that word, that encouragement that says, do you know what, you can be good at mathematics, even though you failed algebra and geometry and calculus and chemistry, which I did,
crazy.
You can actually do well in mathematics. If there's not someone showing you your worth when you can't see it, you'll forever be looking in the mirror thinking that you're not worth what you are. And my first job that I had was a math tutoring job. And I scored, because I had taken calculus and I'd taken those classes over, I scored relatively high on the placement test. And so the job, this is how ironic life is, the only job that I got first when I was in college was a math tutoring job. And it was stressful too, because I didn't know what half the terminology or anything was in the books. And I would sit down with them, I'm like, okay, I'm here to tutor you. You're like, well, how do you do this? And I just tell them the truth. I have no idea. I'm gonna read the book with you. And we literally sat and read the book together. And I found myself reading the algebra books, reading the geometry books, reading the calculus books, reading the statistics books, literally reading and studying. And when I overcome my own fear, it was when I was working with someone else and recognizing that the person next to me was the exact mirror of myself. And as I could help that person right next to me, I was helping myself at the same time. And that confidence that was built from taking something that I failed at before and shifting my thinking about it and embracing it to actually create a new reality for myself, that's what empowered me. And that's what allowed me to graduate top of my class, which later on opened up the door to launch rockets. And I've learned to become aware to see, all right, this is where I want to go. How is this decision going to help me get there? Decisions reshape the brain. Every decision that you make reshapes your brain. It's always keeping that in the back of your head, like, this is where I'm gonna go. And I'd made the decision very early in life that no matter where I was gonna change it. I was gonna change it. So you have to put into your head exactly what it is. You have to envision it before it happens. And I realized that any of us can gain a genius brain no matter what age we're at. It doesn't matter. Forget what anyone's ever told you. You can gain a smart brain at any age. If you're a person in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, in other words, STEM, go into it, do it. There is such an overwhelming need for you because you have the ability to see the big picture. You have the ability not only to do the mathematics, but you have the ability to see the big picture and use your communication skills in order for people to see how important concepts are. So that is the gift that you bring. If you have the opportunity to go into that STEM, study it, learn it.